Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at the CV Gossip expansion. This is the first and only, to this point, probably ever, maybe not, I'm not going to say that, expansion for CV. Now, CV is a game that I like. There will be a review of it going up right at the same time, but I went through the effort of changing my shirt for you, so please acknowledge that. Thank you. Now, Gossip adds some more interactive elements to the game, a little bit, but also just adds some new dimensions as to how you spend your good luck and bad luck, and just new cards that get mixed into these standard decks. You have Gossip cards, which are generally really bad, but could potentially be slightly good, and you can also screw over your neighbor with them. You also have Fate cards, which are a way for you to mitigate the bad luck that you typically get, and the good luck as well. Just another outlet for you to spend that, and there's a couple of gold cards as well. Let me go ahead and show you everything that comes in this very small expansion, just to warn you ahead of time, and then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Gossip is the first expansion to CV. Future expansions will be called Scuttlebutt, Hearsay, and Hero Add-on Pack 4. You get everything that you see here. Most important, of course, is the extra score pad. But there are other things, like extra tokens. Oh, and cards. First, we'll talk about the new Gossip cards, because oh my god, Bev, didn't you hear what happened? There are 12 of these, 4 for each stage of life deck, and they get shuffled in with the other cards as normal. You purchase a Gossip card just like the other cards, but you have the option of either putting it into your CV or an opponent's. Also, like other cards, they stack up, with only the top one being active. All of them are bad for you. They'll make cards more expensive, make bad luck worse, or even block you from getting certain cards altogether. And you can never willingly lose them due to bad luck. On the other hand, each Gossip card is worth 2 points at the end of the game, because even if everyone hates you, there's still a certain amount of prestige for being the neighborhood pariah. Next, Fate cards. That's Fate, not Fate Stay Night, sadly. Shuffle them up and put them off to the side of the board, then flip 2 of them face up near the deck. So here's the deal. During the card purchasing phase, you can use good luck or bad luck symbols to buy one of the 2 cards. If you do, those symbols won't count for anything else, meaning you can spend bad luck to avoid having to potentially lose a card from having 3 bad luck symbols. A few are actually good cards, but you have to spend good luck symbols to get them. These go into a stack in your CV as usual, with only the top card being active, but they don't count against your purchasing limit. They also cycle down their little mini 2-card track, just like the big boy track, but there are only ever 2 to buy at a time. Finally, there are 2 new goals. One of them is boring and just like the other goal cards, but the other awards 2 points for each Fate card that you've collected, because you're insane now? That's it! Talk amongst yourselves. I am torn on this expansion. In my review of CV, I mentioned as one of the negatives of the game, not much of a negative, but it's there. It is something that I noted. It felt a little bit sparse. I wanted there to be more decisions to be made, more outlets for you to do different strategies, because the game was almost too light. I mean, that was the point of the game, was being very light, but I wanted there to be just a little bit something more. So I actually picked up the Gossip expansion right near the same time that I got the base game, and after playing the base game a few times, I was like, alright, let's break into this Gossip expansion and see what it does, because I had heard that it was added more interactivity and more options. Well, half of the expansion is really good, half of it, not so much. But the problem is, the rules of the game, which are fine as far as how they're laid out, have an omission that I don't see in there, which is, can I play with one thing as opposed to the other? Can I use the Fate cards, which I like overall, and not use the Gossip cards, which are not that great? And it doesn't make that clear, and other than the fact that because it doesn't say that, you probably are supposed to use both of them and the new gold cards altogether. I don't care about the gold cards. But the problem with that, again, is that maybe it's a balance thing that you have to use them both. But even though they're separate things that you really can worry about independently. But the Gossip cards, they're just a little bit too much screwage for what I'm comfortable with. And it's not like that much. There's only 4 in each deck. People could ignore them, and I've seen that happen. Just like, who wants to bother with that? Why would you spend your hard-earned resources on that just to give it to someone else? Or to take sort of a gamble on you. Maybe you have the gold card that gives you extra bonus points for your gossip, but you wouldn't usually not take that just to get 2 points. Maybe you would. But if that's the case, they're just kind of taking up space, which means they're not all that exciting. Thematically, it's an interesting idea to have these really negative things come out. It's more good artwork in the game, things like that. But I don't know. I was expecting... I don't know what I was expecting. More? Something a little more interesting? More interactivity other than, I could give this to you. But it might actually help you? Because if the negative thing doesn't affect you that badly, you're giving someone 2 points. And maybe their secret gold card is the spontaneous, the new one. You don't know. So, I'm not really thrilled with the gossip part of this. But the fate cards, I like quite a bit. I mentioned as well as a negative in my base review of the base game is that the bad luck can just be seriously debilitating. But more than that, maybe something I should have touched on even more, is just that it can be kind of boring that you have this bad luck that even if it doesn't hurt you that bad, maybe you just roll 2 of them in your turn. That's still 2 dice that aren't doing anything. Now you have another option. You can filter that down into these the fate cards. You would never do that with just 2. But if you do have 3, it's like, well, I'm going to have to kill one of my cards, which sucks. But I could go ahead and take this fate card, which is still bad, but maybe not that bad. And it's just giving you something else, another option, which I like. More options is always better for the most part, especially in this game. And some of them are good. There's not as many, but there's a few rare ones that are good. And that is even more interesting because it's like, I just rolled 3 faces, smiley faces. I could just take a free card, but that card in the fate pile looks kind of interesting. But again, like Gossip, even though I like this one a lot better, the fate cards as well could have used more fleshing out. Again, and this is kind of the same problem the base game has. I wanted there to be more. I wanted this to be a little more spread out, a little more in-depth. Because as it is, it doesn't really feel like an essential expansion. It's okay. If you really love CV and you just really want to expand options in any way you possibly can, then yeah, but this isn't quite the expansion I wanted for the game. It's only half good, and maybe only a third good, really, when you think about it. But I do like CV. I'm hopeful that there will be another expansion that fleshes it out even more, but I would still only recommend this for the hardcore fan. It's not going to change anyone's mind about the game. I really don't think so. That is CV Gossip from Grana. Really hesitant recommendation. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.